I am so excited. Spring is pretty much here, which means soon I'll be able to go outside and start doing videos and show you more of my wonderful world of the woods. So for this segment of Ask Me Anything, the usual is 5 questions, but the last one is going to be kind of a surprise. So question 1, what does literary success look like to you? Well, I'd have to say for me, it's kind of unusual in that in my most recent books, I've been trying to give people something to think about. And for me, if someone were to come up to me and say they got a message or my book inspired them in some way or whatever it may be, that to me tells me that I did my job. I like to write more than just science fiction, fantasy, or whatever genre I'm writing at the time. I like making people think. I like giving them something else to wonder, as it were. Because to me, as a writer, I'm trying to inspire people. That's what I really want to do. Inspire them to take action in their lives, whether it be through their community, what have you. And so to me, that's what I think. So number 2, what are your long-term goals? Long-term goals. Well, here's the truth. I'm a self-published author, so I go through a company online called Lulu, which is similar to if I were to go to Amazon or CreateSpace, anything like that, really. And my long-term goal is to find a publisher, whether they're a traditional publisher or an independent publisher. And the reason for that is because as a self-publisher, I have to do all of the marketing, advertising, all of it myself, which isn't really that big of a deal because I've been doing that since probably about a decade now, so I'm kind of used to it. But now that I'm trying to get my work out there more, I'm finding that it's harder to get into some places like bookstores and such, but a traditional or independent publisher can do that for me. So that is my long-term goal, and really all it takes is for one person who really believes in what I'm doing. And they're out there. It might take a little while, but they're out there, and so that's what I'm waiting for. Number 3, what would be the hardest genre to write? Historical fiction. I mean, at least for me, I absolutely admire people who write historical fiction because there is so much research involved in that. Because you're not making a world or making an idea. You're taking things from history that people learned in school and you're trying to create a fictional setting. And one day I'd like to do that. One day I would like to have the opportunity to write something like that. And I've met people who write historical fiction, and I think it's just absolutely awesome to do, but that would be the hardest for me to write. Now, what's the first story you wrote? The first story I wrote, I was 10 years old, and I'm smiling now because it was kind of really spontaneous to write it. It was about a blue jay who saw all these geese and wanted to fly south for the winter with them, and then he realized that the north was his home. I know it sounds so silly and kind of might sound kind of stupid, but I wrote it as like a kind of like a kid's story. I wish I knew where it was. I don't know whatever happened to it, but I wrote it when I was 10, trying to get my feel for writing in general, but that's what I wrote. The last question. This is an interesting one. What famous celebrity or famous group do you admire? Right off the bat, that would have to be a group called Recycled Percussion, which originated from my home state, and I'm very happy about that because that's just so cool. I one day want to go to one of their concerts just because it sounds so awesome what they do at their concerts, but personally, I admire them for their generosity and for their compassion for people. They do things out of the goodness of their heart, not for publicity's sake. And they're always trying to find a charitable situation, trying to help people, whether it's around the country or just, in New Hampshire. And as an artist and a writer, I want to aspire to be like that. That's what I want to do. I want to help people through my writing or through anything that matter. And so, I really love what they do, and I think it's just fascinating, all the new ideas that they come up with to help the people around them. Well, that's all I have for today, but please stay tuned for more.